All right, so hey guys, Jay Seibel here from Tech Solutions, aka Superman. This is my video recording of the what I'm going to present to you is a identifying an external window taglet. Just FYI, what we need to do for a specific use case that came about from one of our brands, Quicken Loans, was we needed to basically identify when any visitor is going to get forced to use the external window. We have special code and certainly a taglet that's running within the embedded window that we need to use for routing. So for some visitors, probably 1 to 2% that we saw, they get the external window instead of the embedded window because either their browser doesn't support it, it doesn't support local storage, um, cookies, it's an unknown browser, etc., which I'll go into in just a few minutes. But basically, I want to share with you what the code looks like. We're not going to go deep dive in the code. I'll just at a high level kind of talk through the main points of the code, but then really just kind of give you a quick demonstration. So let's talk about the use case a little bit more. So let me bring up the taglet code, and I'll try and keep this on top. So as you can see here, we're calling this the Identify External Window Taglet. Myself and Guy Berry in R&D have worked with this, so shout out to Guy and also Shai in R&D, who's really helped out a lot with the coding, because we do code uh, the way that the actual live person system or the service uses to identify when the external window will be triggered. So we're basically piggybacking off a lot of the current code that's in place. So what we want to do is essentially we're going to set back an SDE. That's really what we're trying to achieve here. And this taglet will again go through and check to see when the conditions are met to send back to live person a specific SDE. The SDE that we're using, as you can see here, is we're going to use for the purposes of our testing, and really it's going to be configurable because the taglet's going to have a configuration that will basically allow you to set whatever SDE that the customer or the brand wants to use. So for the purposes of this demo, we're setting back a service type SDE with a value embedded with a status of 4, meaning not approved. So we'll look at that in just a minute, but just so you know, that's the goal of this taglet, is to ultimately set back an SDE that you can basically target your behaviors to show. For purposes of like Quicken Loans, we want to show a different button or different engagement in order for them to route differently, because right now they have special code within the embedded window for a taglet that allows them to route, and when they get the external window, that code is not present. So just kind of going through this code real quick, just to reiterate, the taglet checks 3 different main conditions. Does the browser support main types of storages like cookies, local storage, session storage, and IndexedDB database? Then if it fails or completes the checking there, it then goes on to now check to see if there's a viewport tag for mobile. And then if it passes that, then it checks to see if there's any kind of iframe support within the browser. So if any one of those checks fails, it will push the SDE, and again, we'll see that here in the demonstration. All right, so just that's really the main use case that we're trying to solve for here. Let's go back to our example file. So this is just our example page that we have up and running. And I'll try and keep this up and running. But basically, this is the page that I have set up. I have it up on Amazon under a bootcamp folder. It's called LP Identify External Window. And with this video, I'll also provide the links for this as well. But as you can see, I just have a basic demo test page up there. Now, if we look at the demo test page, one of the things that I want to call out is because we don't have it set up right now as a taglet configuration file that's being pulled in, we're simulating it down here on lines 27 and 28. So I'll just point out, first of all, that we're setting up a SD configuration that basically mimics a service type SD, as you can see here. So the ID is identify external window, type service with a topic of embedded with a status of 4. And again, what we do is, because the taglet's initialization method is public to us, we're basically simulating or calling the initialization method or the init method and passing that SDE configuration in. And we're doing it on a 3-second timeout just to mimic a normal taglet load. So that's great. So that's basically what the main callouts to this example file. I just wanted to take a moment to make sure that everyone understands that we're just simulating a taglet configuration. The other part of it up here at the top, which is not something that a normal user is going to do, but for the purposes of this demo, I just wanted to call out that in order for us to test this, to either simulate there's an issue with the local storage or the meta viewport or even the iframe support, we went ahead and just added some code in lines 9 through 17 here to basically mock not being able to access any kind of local storage. So this is not something that is typical for the purposes of the taglet, but this is something I just wanted to call out that I'm adding into our demo page, so that way we can set up our local storage to basically fail, because I want to be able to demo this for you. So just FYI, that's what's going to allow this demo to work, is by setting up the different local storage items to fail. So that's the main HTML driver web page that I wanted to start off by showing you. And then the other thing that I'd like to do is I'd like to go through the taglet code here just real quick before I demo it. So let's go back over to the taglet code. The taglet code is essentially LP underscore identify underscore external window.js. Okay. All right. So again, I'm going to go through this really quickly. So basically, it does check for a bunch of different things here. And again, I'm going to call out the initialization or the init method here. That's the most important thing. As normal, we're going to convert the configuration. Again, the taglet's going to accept an SDE, so we're going to, via line 72, do that. So that way we can get access to this underscore SDE variable. Again, that's really one of the things that we're going to key off of in the code here. Before we start with the main driver program, resolve is embedded function, or underscore resolve is embedded. But before we get to that, let's just scroll down through it. There's again a bunch of private methods, because we have to test all the different types of storages, the viewport, the iframe. So we do have kind of our starting off with test storage. We test the browser, we test the viewport. Otherwise, we again jump to resolve is embedded. These are main browser, get browser, driver functions, get OS. I'm not going to go through these, but just as you can see, this is all part of the taglet that needs to, again, help determine whether or not they can access any of the browser's local storage. The main execution scope is underscore check storages. It checks to see if the storage is enabled. It checks to see is cookies enabled on line 189. It reads cookies. It attempts to write a session cookie, clear cookies, etc. Then there's the index DB wrapper function that attempts to do what we call the transactions for the local database. It tries to set an item, delete an item. Again, the main driver function for that was initdb, just so you know. Public methods for that, it tries to set an item, it retries, it tries to get an item, remove an item, etc. And then it keeps going down here to attempt to run the transaction now. And all of that is essentially checked to see whether or not it passes. And then one of the additional things that it does for the second item is it tests the viewport. Then if it passes, if it's desktop or mobile optimized, it tests to check to see if the iframe is essentially an issue. Otherwise, again, it calls this resolve as embedded, which we'll look at here in a second. We definitely, for mobile, we got to check to get the device. We check to see if it's IE here on line 545. Is it mobile optimized? Essentially, a lot of this just allows us to determine that it is or is not mobile optimized. We're able to parse the content out to be able to get the information out of the meta tag. And again, we need to also test to see if iframes are supported. And so all of this is really what drives us down to these last two functions, which are really the main goal or outcome of this taglet. We check to see is the embedded are we able to resolve it? Is it something that the embedded window we know is going to work, considering that it either failed any one of those three checks? Otherwise, we know that embedded works. So if it supports one of those three items, then we can expect the embedded window. But again, if any one of those fails, we're going to essentially push a SDE that we identified for this. And that's where the main function, line 659 here, push identify SDE, is showing you. So we check to see if that underscore SDE variable, like I mentioned, is true. And then we basically set it up to push the configuration for this. And that's it, guys. So I'm going to essentially go ahead and pop back over here to our demo taglet page. And we're going to go ahead and attempt to do a live chat here. And keep in mind, this should trigger it because, again, if you recall in our demo page, I did suppress local storage by that code. All right, so this is just a mock pre-chat server that we have it hooked up to in the account, in our test account. This should basically kick off the chat. As you can see, I'm already into the test account. We're going to go ahead and accept the account, or accept the chat that's waiting. And let's go ahead and expand up our information here, and let's check to see that that service SDE was passed, and it was. Again, the topic was embedded and status was not approved, meaning it was type 4. Again, you know, as the brand sees fit, you can use this taglet to configure the SDE to pass however they want it to be. So it is configurable. So I just wanted to make sure that you're all aware of what this taglet does, how it works, and what the end result here is. And again, assuming that the taglet does trigger and pass the SDE for whatever reason they need it for, you can essentially, in our case for Quicken Loans, you can essentially set it up to show a different pre-chat survey, show a different engagement, route differently, which is essentially what we're going to key off of this SDE for. That's it, guys. So thank you again for watching, and hopefully this helps. And if you have any questions, reach out to me. Thanks.